All right, everybody, welcome in on a Wednesday to the Hoops Rehab Show. How you doing, Eric?
Pretty good, man. How's everything going over there?
Another Lakers loss, but
Yeah.
that's to be
Hey, at least
expected
Lakers
at
didn't
this
play
part of the
today,
season.
you
Yeah,
know?
at least they didn't play today, but we'll be reacting to the Tuesday night fall apart at the end of the game. We'll be reacting to that. We're going to be reacting to the big trio in LA: Austin
Hmm.
Reaves, LeBron, Luka. Is it going to
Yeah.
work or is it not going to work? And we're going to talk about the Spurs a little bit because they are showing some dominance in this league. And we're going to update everybody on the James Harden injury. But let me just get to a couple things before we get started. As always, everybody, please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Hoops Rehab Show. We also have the podcast where you can get your podcast anywhere, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get that. It's The Hoops Rehab Show. Please rate it and drop a comment. We'd appreciate that because we're trying to throw out all the content, get everything to you guys every couple of days. So, Eric, you ready to get this cracking?
Let's do it.
All right. So we had another game at home. This is like an 8-game homestand where you win this game, you at least go 5-3 on this homestand. Lose it, you go 4-4, 500 ball at home. Not this time in the season. Not a good thing to do. Playing Orlando, which is not that they're a bad team, they're a playoff team, but those are types of games that you want to see a team like the Lakers win. Throughout the game, you're kind of handling your business. You're up in the third quarter. Everything's going pretty well. Towards the end of that third, Paulo started taking over. They gave up some cheap baskets that I thought were just like, you got to be better on defense. And they gave
Hmm.
up those plays. And then it kind of pulled over into the fourth quarter. Obviously lost the lead, got it back, lost it again, and then eventually lost the game. So, Eric, what were your thoughts on just how everything kind of unfolded, and especially the end of the game?
So the Lakers went 5-3 on the road trip. And so if you go 5-3, 4-4 on a road trip, it's definitely acceptable. But when you go 4-4 on a homestand, that is not good at all. And so Lakers are 16-12 at home this year. And for whatever reason, seems
Pretty
like
good.
last year was a little bit of an opposite where they were pretty good at home and not as good on the road. And it's totally like a flip flop this season. It happens sometimes. So that's like the first thing. Just got to get a lot better at home. And second thing, it kind of reminded me of a Orlando game last year where they kind of blew it at the end and lost at basically the last couple seconds. I think it was Wagner. Was it Wagner?
Yeah, Mo or
Yeah,
Ron,
Mo, the other Wagner, the one that wasn't playing.
Ron's. Yeah,
Vaughn. So that takes me to my next point is Orlando is a decent team, but they're injured and they're not, they weren't playing that well. And so Lakers, it wasn't like a lack of fight or anything like that. I mean, they were up practically the whole game. It was definitely different than against Boston, but they just, as you mentioned, like couldn't collect stops and couldn't get that key rebound down the stretch. And that's what ultimately lost them the game. I know it came down to the last second shot that there's been a lot of talk up and chatter about that, which
yeah,
we might get into in a second here. But yeah, it was like after that Boston game, the last thing you needed was another loss. You had to go 5-3 in that homestand. I mean, we talked about it. It's going to be very challenging for this team to compete for a championship or the finals, but we can kind of hang our hat on let's stay out of this plan and let's get a home court advantage of the first round, right? Get maybe a top 4, if not 5 seed, and games like last night, we might be looking at that when it's towards the end of the year, and it's like, man, they missed the 4th seed or the 3rd seed by 1 game, and so yeah, it was a tough one for sure.
yeah. These are the games that matter so much. Where it's
Yeah,
like, not that it's a guarantee that you're going to win, but just gotta win these games at home,
yeah,
knowing that you
of course.
have, you go into at Phoenix and you go at Golden State, you're going to play at Denver, right? So there's games that are going to be harder, right? You would think on the schedule, but but you got to win these games at home. And when you go look at the last play, I know obviously that was all the talk today, all throughout sports media, things like that. But my question is, Luka, he takes how many 25 to 28 footers a game? A lot.
A lot.
He got the ball in perfect position, one dribble to his left, which he loves to go to his left, had a wide open shot, passed it, or passed on that, and then picked up the ball, and then it was forced to pass because pretty much they converged onto him, right? So, one, he was what I think 2 for 10 at the time at the 3-point line. So was he having a little bit of confidence issue?
Yeah.
I would like to say no, because he's usually a shooter. He's going to shoot all the time. So I think it's not a big issue. One stat that I saw was in clutch time, essentially, I think, and I don't know how many games it was, but Luka hasn't taken a shot, right, within 90 seconds of the last part of the game to win a game or anything like that. It's been LeBron, it's been Austin Reaves, there's been really even make a couple of jumpers and things like that. So that was kind of interesting to see that. I don't know if he's deferring to his teammates or just kind of playing that role, but when you look at the killer Luka, him against Gobert, him against the Clippers, it's like who you want to have the ball in the last second. And we've talked about this for years with LeBron.
Yeah.
He's a clutch player, but he's not necessarily somebody I want taking the last shot, especially when it's a fadeaway three with somebody on you, right? That's just not the possession that you want. So I thought Luka, whether or not he thought he had too much time, because that might have been one thing. There's about 7 seconds, caught the ball and basically could have taken it like right at that 1 second. But it doesn't matter. You are down. Doesn't matter. You're down by points. You have to shoot. That way you can foul if you miss it anyway. So I won't buy that argument. So what are your thoughts on like him just passing on that opportunity?
I think first off, it's obviously a completely different NBA now. And it does make sense. Like, in the past, it'd be like, come on, like you get killed. Like you don't need a 3-pointer. You're down 1 or even you're down 2, right? You could just tie it up. But in theory, a uncontested 3 is a better shot, most likely, than a maybe contested 2. Especially when you're not tied, right? It's win or lose. So that's kind of like the first thought. So I'm sure like there's a lot of like talks like, oh, you didn't need 3. Yes. But in today's NBA, like that shot that he had for a split sec there is actually might be better than just driving in that length of Orlando, kind of taking over. And so that's the first thought. Second thought, yeah, he was not having a good shooting night. He had 15 assists, so was like playmaking on his mind a little bit more tonight. Is that kind of what drove that? And it is interesting, and didn't really think about it. Didn't realize that he hasn't really had, like with the Lakers, at least like a kind of like a clutch. I mean, he's been clutch. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's been amazing, but offensively, but he hasn't had like a big shot, like with a couple seconds left to win. I remember against Indiana last year, he took one, but he missed it. And then LeBron got that tip in. That's probably the last time that I recall him taking a shot, but also Lakers are in a lot of blowouts too. So I guess there's a little bit of that, just not, I mean, he should be used to it. He's been in some high pressure situations, but I'm going to have to just chalk it up to just a little bit of a mental error. Like maybe was worried about missing it, being 2 for 10, maybe worrying about, oh man, am I too far? And that's what he said in the presser afterwards. He thought he was a little bit too far, but I mean, we all know that he takes shots from there all the time. And so, yeah, I think once he passed it off, there was no chance of anything other than maybe if there was another half a second left, Ayton would have scored there at the end, with that tip in that he had, but it was a little too late.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, it should have never came down to this.
Yeah, right? That's the thing.
We could talk all we want about the last second and whether or not he should have shot it, they missed, yada yada.
Yeah,
it should never come down to that. If Austin Reaves would have boxed out, they would have got a rebound on that possession before, where he got tipped to Wendell Carter, when he had a wide open layup, essentially. So they have to be better. They can't have these mental lapses on defense. They had a couple of mental lapses on Bane where he's just draining the three. LeBron is sagging on him. There's little plays like that just throughout the fourth quarter that just caused this collapse in this team. Right. And so that's why it's like when you think, yeah, can this team do anything in the playoffs? I honestly, if you chalk it up right now and you told me they're a first round team, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
you got to show me more consistency on defense in order to move on in the playoffs. I just don't think they're gonna. You want to say their offense and their players that they have will be able to score, but the stat that I sent you earlier, Eric, they're Luka and LeBron are a minus 82 right now on the court together with over 750 minutes. They with that lineup together, just them two on the floor, they are a bottom 5 offensive team. Offensive team,
Yeah.
right? So I pose this question to you because I was thinking, what could they do to really shake up this team? And it's maybe something we talked about a little bit before, but one of these three players will likely need to come off the bench, and we
We
know it's
know,
not going to be
right?
Luka,
Yeah.
and we likely know it's not going to be LeBron. But I think if JJ Redick was trying to make a decision on this team, I think him having to tackle Austin Reaves for the rest of the season, of him coming off the bench, I think that would benefit this team tremendously. I just think they need more firepower coming off the bench. I think they need to stagger these lineups a little better, so that will help with rotations between LeBron and Luka. So they would start off in the beginning of the game, but then they wouldn't be in together as much during those parts because I think it's just too redundant of players. I mean, LeBron and Luka are essentially the same type of player.
Yeah.
They got to have the ball in their hand. They can always get the wide open player that's open, passing the ball. They rebound the ball and roll, and they score really well, right? And Austin Reaves is like a mini version of that. So if you have three of them on the court, I don't necessarily know if it's going to work. We have a sample size that doesn't look good right now, and so I think at this point, JJ has to do something to shake this up.
Yeah, like Brian Windhorst, you guys probably maybe saw him all over all these different programs today, and he was pointing out that so per like they're like looking at analytically speaking, and then obviously there's a lot of factors about in terms of like who you played against and whatnot, but they looked at like how many like points per 100 possessions versus their opponents. So that's going to obviously, spill into just multiple games. And so the difference of Luka and Austin Reaves versus the other three, it is a 20-point difference.
Having Luka and Austin together versus
Only them
yeah.
for 100 possessions per 100 possessions.
It's higher,
versus
right?
the other three. Now, is there a high volume of those three? No, right? But they did play together last year in spurts, right? And we almost got to stop, not stop, but it's like we're waiting for them to have this like magical chemistry that's going to happen. And I just don't think it's going to. And yes, I agree. We talked about Austin Reaves being a right-handed Manu Ginobili. Why not kind of interchannel Manu, sorry, and be off the bench, right, for just half a season? And I get it. There's like probably I don't know if there's a kind of contract. Obviously, he's a free agent perhaps coming up. Is there a little bit of that? I think he's set in stone on what he's going to be able to get. So I don't think it should be
Yeah.
that.
I don't
Right?
think that's going to affect him. Like, he's going to play 30 plus minutes. It's not like he's going to play
Less.
less minutes. It's just where his minutes are. And if you look
Mhm.
at how he came back from the calf injury and he was coming off the bench, they were much better as a team just during that time. They were, able to win some more games during that short little sample size of him coming off the bench before the All-Star break, right? So I think I would be hard pressed to not make a change at this point. Like I
Yeah.
think they have to shake it up a little bit. they've been. I think they're what 11-12 the last 23 games. So they're playing that 500 ball, and things are just not where they need to be. And there's not that many games to go. Right, we're down to 25, I believe. So uh, they have to find something that will work, and I think something like that will be a huge difference.
Yeah, and just side note too, not they were just kind of piling on LeBron. There's also stats per 100 possessions that if it's just LeBron with like four other guys, it's actually substantially better versus the three again.
Yeah,
So that just all signs point to that. Now, having Reeves off the bench, it's kind of a band-aid, right? And it's band-aid for this year, which is if they're serious about contending. And hey, you never know. Like there's teams that are just not the healthiest right now. And so you truly never know. It would probably be him coming off the bench. Obviously, those three will be in a game, the last 5-6
yeah,
minutes of a game, right? And so there's still going to have to be a little bit of cohesion there. However, I would, in my opinion, like the last 2 or 3 minutes of a game, you could play a little bit more ISO ball, right? It's not as organized those during that crunch time. It's like
yeah,
we need a flat out stud just to take over.
yeah.
Like that's where maybe Luka takes over, for example. And so I don't, not that to say it's not that important, but I think it's like if there was a time to play that ball, it's usually the last couple of minutes of a game.
Yeah, yeah, that makes more sense to me. And yeah, you're gonna have your stars in at the end, but I just think that just
Need
spreads it
something,
out a
right?
little bit more, changes it up a little bit. I mean, Austin's still gonna come in and get you 20 something off the bench. Um, we'll see. We'll see if they make any drastic changes, but I just don't think they can keep putting out the same lineup and expect any changes, right? Like I think there's got to
Insanity,
be
right?
some sort of change, um, regardless of hurting feelings, right? There's got to be a talk
Yeah.
to a meeting they have where hey, we just play better together in this type of role where we stagger it a little bit better. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
and hopefully you wouldn't see it as like a demotion or anything. It's just obvious, right? Like it's never gonna happen. I'm not saying it should happen, but like I feel like we talked about LeBron and the other four.
Yeah,
Like I think like somebody like LeBron, right, running and gunning with the bench mob that Lakers don't have, it would make sense. But that's obviously not going to happen, and it's not going to be damn. Obviously, it's not going to be Luka. So Reeves is the option, and I think
yeah,
he could flourish, right? And I would imagine like because LeBron is he typically like the first sub, like about 6 minutes
yeah.
into the
He's
game.
usually out at 6 minutes, so that's what I'm saying. It
So
would be
that's
just the
Reeves
6 minutes
would come in.
together, and then they would come in with Austin. Then Luca would come in with LeBron. For LeBron would come in for Luca, and then they really wouldn't play all together in that type of role that much, right? All
End
three,
of end
but
of
you would just
halves,
have them kind of
basically.
interact, yeah, and towards the end of the half and the end of the fourth quarter. So I think
Yeah.
that's how you spread it out more, right? Because right now it seems like Austin's kind of like what do you have? Did he have zero in the first half? Last night I
Must
think
have
he
had a,
had.
he had a good he
He
had a
didn't
good
have that
second
many,
half,
but
right?
then he had a really good second half. So I think the flow, and then Austin can come kill these second unit dudes right when he comes
Yeah.
in. So I just think like that makes a lot of sense. And I mean the reality is Lakers are 11-4 without LeBron to start the season. Right? That was Luka and AR and Luka together had this like flow of how they played, and it was those two, a 1B, and right they were averaging a lot. Austin Reaves was averaging a lot. And I'm not saying that obviously having three together is a bad thing or it's a problem, but there's just a flow of the game that is different when it's Luka and AR versus Luka, AR, and LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, Luca fell on their lap right last year, and it wasn't. You figured it was going to be a good problem to have, but they just haven't had. They had one off season, and they couldn't really do much with those two to really change much. It is what it is. It's who they have. This is the team that they have, obviously the rest of the year, and so. Yeah, if the Lakers are not really hell bent on like punting on the season, and I think like I don't think they are. I mean, they are, but they aren't, right? I mean, the guys
Yeah,
that are out there, the guys that are coaching, they're going to try to win games, right? But Yeah, that would be interesting. Now, question before moving on, I guess, but who takes that slot in your mind? If
Yeah,
right,
that's the hard one. I mean,
probably
obviously
only
Marcus
two
Smart
options really.
is in the starting lineup right now, and then it'd likely be like a Rui. Um, unless you're
Probably have to go
like
with Rui, right? Maybe I want to do Laravia because then
probably
that
you could go Laravia, so then you have Marcus Smart and Laravia, LeBron, Luka. Yeah, and then you could have Rui and AR coming off the bench. I think that gives you a little bit more firepower. And Laravia has been used to kind of starting a little bit too, so it's not like it's foreign for him. I think that gives you just a little bit more defense to start the game, right? A little
yeah.
more firepower coming off the bench, and then you kind of intertwine those lineups and end up with you know some of those three together at some point of the game.
Yeah, I think if they were to just say, for example, start that tomorrow, I think you have enough games to see how it is with Rui starting
Yeah,
or Laravia. And I think those are the
Laravia,
only two real options, right?
yeah,
And so kind of leaning towards Rui a little bit just because like now like
yeah,
Rui we put him on the bench so we can have something kind of on the bench, but now we have
yeah,
Reeves,
yeah,
so you could kind of slide him back. Um, but I think there's enough time to kind of test the waters a little bit with both.
for sure.
Um, and so yeah, we'll kind of have to see. On a side note, um, which we kind of talked about. So Luka and Hard, like in I think he's had like what six or seven games with the Lakers.
Yeah,
He's had like
yeah,
12 3-point attempts.
yeah.
So
Was he
that's
like
just
8 for 12?
total side note, which is like he just like he's just not a volume shooter and he's just not gonna
He's
be.
not.
And if he was, we probably wouldn't have had him now because he probably would be, you know, like a much more sought out player, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Um, but I just thought of him because we are thinking about bench guys, and so
yeah, yeah.
I mean he hasn't done it his first 7 8 years. I wouldn't imagine it's not gonna all of a sudden
Yeah,
happen.
but I like his production. I think he's been consistent with the Lakers, and just that he's just not
Yeah,
a
not a bad
big
pickup.
volume shooter.
Not
But
a bad pickup.
I do think the Lakers got to change up. They can't just keep throwing out this team and expecting it to turn into something when it's not.
Yeah, he went. By the way, Luke Kennard last night 0 for 0 from the 3-point line. So there you have
Nice.
it.
Yeah, didn't even take a three.
Yeah,
Awesome. That's what we got
yeah,
him for. Uh,
exactly. Shooter. He
shoot.
is lights out. I mean, not a whole ton of
Um,
minutes, 15, but for me, it's like I want like 5 3-pointers in that 15 minutes you're out there, right? But
exactly.
it's obviously not going to happen. So yeah, well, we'll see if the Lakers do something just like different, right?
Yep.
Something kind of like that, and I think that might be their only hope. But we'll see. And it doesn't mean that they're going to all of a sudden become a championship contender, but it could change things for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Change it up. But like our next topic, we're changing it up to one of the hottest team or the
Yeah,
hottest team in the league,
a
the San
180.
Antonio Spurs, Eric. They've won 10 in a row. They went in and beat Detroit in Detroit. Game got super physical,
Yeah,
didn't bother them. Still won the game, right? So I, I think, we often think about this team as being too young. It's not their time. They are a year away, 2 years away. Man, the way this team plays defense, I don't think
yeah,
so. Like, you have obviously Wimby, all great defender. He would win the defensive player of the year, obviously, if he's eligible.
yeah.
Getting 5-6 blocks a game. I mean, he had 6 blocks the other night, had 5 blocks tonight. But then you got guards that just play hella defense on that team. And I was watching Steven Castle run through screens. When I
Yeah.
mean running through a screen, like I've always thought this with the Lakers. Like, we've never had that guy. I would say Marcus Smart can kind of get through screens sometimes, but we've never had an on-ball defender like the way I've seen what Steven Castle is bringing. Like,
Okay, switch
literally,
everything. Yeah.
I saw a possession. There's 3 screens set on him. There's not one time he switched, and he was able to slip and stay with the guy every single play on that one possession. So
Wow.
like and that was when he was guarding like Cade and stuff like that. So like he was giving Cade the business, right? And Cade is a big ass guard, right?
I
And
know.
Castle, I think he's 6'4", 6'5". He's not too tall, but super strong, super good defender. He's gonna be a hell of a defender for years to come. Dylan Harper is a great defender off the bench, and he's a rookie. So they just got these young guards that can guard the perimeter. Carter Bryant's going to be a good defender as well. So they're stacked there. So I think this team can make a playoff run.
Yeah.
Barring any foreseen injuries or anything like that. I think they're a team to reckon with in the West Coast.
Yeah, no, definitely. They are, first off, I know Wemby was out for some time there, which is nothing to kind of, obviously that's a big deal, but they have, in my opinion, at least in the West, they've been just the healthiest team. So that's a big part of it. Pretty healthy, pretty young. They seem to take the similar kind of DNA of OKC, just don't take a possession off. Obviously, the athleticism and the youth is a big part of that. They've won 10 straight. Wemby is funny. I don't know if you saw, but he got interviewed, I think, in the summer, and he was asked, "Hey, what's the one team you have not had a block against? Like you haven't blocked a shot against?" And he's like, "What? There's a team?" And they're like, "Detroit." He's like, "What?" Yeah.
Wow.
So played Detroit. I think I believe it'd be the first time this year. Six rejections, six blocks.
Yeah.
And so I guarantee you he was probably thinking about that heading into the game. And so, I mean, kind of to flip teams. Looking at Detroit, I feel like ultimately they're going to need eventually another scorer.
Another star,
After obviously Cade's having a dynamite season and MVP candidate, but and honestly they play pretty tough too. These teams are like, we're kind of noticing what is kind of it right now with Detroit, San Antonio, OKC, Boston a little bit too, is that they're just like super aggressive defensively. Obviously they have talent offensively too.
Yeah.
And so just athletic wings and obviously bigs too. And so I think it would be crazy to think that you can't sit here and say San Antonio doesn't have a chance. I know they haven't had any playoff experience, so that could do them in, but they're only one game in the loss column from OKC.
I know. They coming.
It was a given that OKC was going to be the first seed, one seed in the West, and it's not anymore.
Yeah. And when you're talking about defense, right? OKC is number 1, Detroit's number 2, San Antonio's number 3 in defensive efficiency. And then you throw Boston in there at number 7, right? So these teams are hounding
top 7
teams. They're playing aggressive defense. They don't let easy shots get off. They do super well on that side of the ball. And when you have a top 3 defense, you're for sure going to have a chance at the championship. Like, there's no doubt about it. Go back years and years, you're going to see most teams that are pretty damn good on defense will get close to the finals, right? If damn near in the finals, if you're top 5. So I think that anytime you can play well on defense, especially when you get into a 7-game series when you're playing this team over and over and over, right? So you know their tendencies, you know how they play. That's when you can really get into these great defensive matches. And I think OKC and San Antonio are in a collision course for the Western Conference Finals, right? Like, it's going to be pretty epic if they both get there like that.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And so it's at the end of the day, it's those grinding defensive teams that can make a difference in a playoff series. It's a flashy offense, just like in football. You got the flashy offense to take you through the regular season when it's hot, maybe through November. But teams that D up, right, play great defense, run the ball, tend to be more successful, like when it matters. And it's like, I know we're in an era of just high scoring, and it's not going to be 80s and 90s, not like the years, but the scores.
Mm-hmm.
but it's the same thing basically. I mean, it's kind of just guys that are just giving it their all. And hey, the top four teams are basically the top seven in defensive rating, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing about it is they got youth on their
They're
side.
balling.
All three teams are young, athletic, and they have players that can play on both ends. And I think that's the evolution of the NBA right now. That's where it's at. It's not these, bring three stars together, right? So if you look at all these, I mean, obviously OKC has kind of grown their stars, but
Yep.
there's not a team right now that's a collection of three stars or two star, like even like two superstars, say like Luka and LeBron, that are all in the top three teams in the league, right? There's not.
Yep.
It's like one star Wimpy, one star Kate, one star SGA, and the rest are pieces that fit the team really well. And that's the way this new CBA is leading every team to be. And that's why people want to tank so bad right now, right? They want to get that high draft pick and they want to get these
Yeah.
players and kind of develop them. And, going back to the Lakers, we're just evolutions behind in that, because that's why they probably hired Tony Bennett to kind of run the draft with Rob, right?
Yep.
So I think that's going to influence kind of like how the Lakers go about their draft picks. If they do keep them and not trade for like a Giannis, they're going to have to learn to develop, and that's what the Dodgers have done. They've developed players as well as sign like some of these major guys, but they've always done a good job with their farm club. So I think the Lakers are
Absolutely.
going to have to roll that way moving forward.
Yeah, great point. Didn't even think about it. Like a lot of those top teams just have like the one guy. You could even throw Boston in right now, right?
Yeah,
We know
exactly.
when
Yeah.
we know when Tatum comes back, it's a different story. But right now, Jaylen Brown is the guy, and a lot of other guys are just fitting around him. And it's yeah. We won't do it now, but I'm sure if we look back, at the top 2 to 3 seeds in each conference, there's probably not many times where it's just been like just the one guy and everybody else, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like going that way. Now it's encouraging for a team like the Lakers who have that one guy. Like
Yeah,
that's very tough.
definitely.
It's a tough thing to get that one guy. Don't get me wrong, right? There's some luck. You got to get a trade like SGA, Luka. You got to get the number 1 draft pick, like Wemby and Cade, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of to that, and so hey, we got that. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see real quick before we jump to the next topic. If it's not going to be San Antonio versus OKC in the Western Conference Final, who's like the one team in the West do you think that could ruin that party right now?
Minnesota again.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know what it
3
is,
times
but
in a
when
row.
they get into the playoffs, Anthony Edwards steps up his game. I think they've just been hanging around. Um, but, you want to be like they're not as good as last year. I don't think they're not as deep. That's one thing, right?
Yeah.
But when you get to the playoffs, you're literally only playing 7 to 8 guys, right? And their 7 to 8 guys are really good, right?
Yeah.
And plays really well when it gets to that kind of crunch time. So to me, if I were to choose any of those teams, I would have kind of Minnesota there. What about you?
Yeah, I like Minnesota too. I'm still gonna say, and they've had an injury type of year as well. I'm gonna say if a healthy Denver team,
Yeah.
plays like a San Antonio, for example, just like the experience factor, I think they will extend that series just like they did against OKC last year, and perhaps ruin that party, if you will. I would say them, but if they're not healthy, I'm gonna go with the obvious choice of San Antonio and OKC.
Yep. Yep. Sounds good. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it's like down the stretch, these next 25 games or so, and see
Yeah,
if anybody kind of, starts to get hot and we get a different feel
yeah,
for the playoffs kind of moving in.
sir.
But all right, so last topic here, we had some unfortunate news today kind of come out with James Harden. He suffered a right thumb fracture. So he is left-handed, so that does help. And it's also just the tip of the thumb, so it is the distal phalanx, which is a lot better than having like kind of this middle portion of it or any of the joints of that. He was out today. You know, they all kind of rested. Mitchell and Evan Mobley rested as well on a back-to-back, so that made total sense to allow it to at least heal a little bit. However, in general, a fracture is going to take 4 to 6 weeks to heal. So he's going to have to either splint it, tape it. Likely it would be one of the two, some sort of support there, which will obviously affect his dribbling, affect kind of catching the ball, affect passing it. His shot shouldn't be too affected because, you know, the right hand's always going to just be your guide hand. And so I think it's more like the dribbling, the feel of it, because he's going to have to manage pain, right? I also think that just in general, this is the type of injury that you're trying to prevent the fracture from getting any worse, right? So he's got to have some sort of level of protection. Typically, if you fracture a finger, they're going to do a buddy tape, right? Put them both together. Thumb, you can't do that, right? It's too short, right? You gotta put those together. So that makes it a little different. So a lot of times you see more of like a splint that will just kind of keep this kind of stuck here. So it'll kind of lose that dexterity of kind of being able to bend that thumb. But it's also his opposite hand and his non-dominant hand. I think he'll be okay with it. It'll be something that he'll just have to manage the pain.
Yeah, it's true that with the two fingers, I remember like Jason Tatum last year in the playoffs, for example, right? Hurt his finger and it being different than the thumb. A couple of things come to mind with this. You know, I think the point that they probably want to, that he's a new player on the Cavs and they probably want to get some more repetition with the team. I think it kind of, it factors into this because the way I see it, look, like nobody wants to miss 4 weeks or especially down the stretch. But you know, I don't know. I'm looking at I feel like they're not going to get a 1 or 2 seed, obviously, and I don't think they're going to fall into the play-in. For me, you know, you want to get as high as of a seed as you can, but it's like 3 to 6 doesn't really matter if you're not going to have like a James Harden or a healthy James Harden. So I wonder if there was any thought like, hey, let's just shut him down for a month, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like, I think we're going to kind of fight for a 3 to 6 regardless and have him a little healthier and not risk further injury. Cause there is risk of that, right? Of it kind of further being injured or.
Yeah. So the risk is like, you know, a lot of fractures are like a non-displaced fracture. So that means it's just the bone is just kind of cracked, right? It hasn't really shifted too much. So the risk is just displacing it, right? So that would be something that requires surgery. So if he got hit on it again or something really got jammed, he can cause more of that fracture maybe to displace, where he would actually have to get some sort of screw put in there so he kind of keep it locked, and then you would have to really heal on that type of thing. I think because of it being the distal part, the end of the thumb, it's not too bad, right? If it's his whole thumb or more of the bigger bone there, that becomes super painful to play with. It also just affects more the grip, gripping a ball, things like that. Be able to go like this. It's a lot harder if it's this part of the thumb versus this part. So I think that's some of the thinking with his injury, and also just and to be honest, James Harden plays through a lot.
Like he knows his body. He knows himself.
Literally, like, I mean, not that he plays every single game, but he's almost like an Iron Man. Like he really plays most games. Like he doesn't really take a lot of games off, and he's learned how to take care of his body throughout his career.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's we could say a lot about him. And I know with Philly, he was a couple years there. He was a little bit banged up, but like other than that, like he pretty much has been out there. You know, him and Russell Westbrook kind of similar, where they're going to be out there, and he probably, I'm sure he's got some advice, and he knows his body, and he knows that he's going to be able to still contribute. But it was just kind of, I was just thinking about it, like. Of course, if it was early in the season, maybe they just shut him down. But since it's crunch time and they're trying to get as high a seed as possible, they're hoping that it doesn't affect him much and that he stays healthy.
Yeah. So hopefully for the best. You know, hopefully it's not too bad and he's able to play through and doesn't make it any worse. because it's been cool to see him in Cleveland and how well they've been doing and adjusting to him already.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They've been playing pretty decent. I know they lost to Milwaukee tonight, obviously with
Yeah.
all the guys you said they were out, and so that's probably a tough loss because I think Milwaukee's not really trying to win a lot of games this year at this time of year. So
Yeah, exactly.
tough one for sure. But yeah.
All right, Eric. Before we get on out of here, got any last little parting words here?
That's it, man. That's it. Just Lakers at Phoenix, at Golden State against two very injury depleted teams. So no excuses.
Got to get a win. All right, but until then, the Hoops Rehab team is out. We will see you guys soon. Peace out, guys.